So now let's get into the ways that people manipulate. I think you'll find this interesting and a real eye-opener. Okay, and this article is from the Power of Positivity. I just want to give them credit, powerofpositivity.com. It's 11 ways that narcissists will try to manipulate you. Now, honestly, they don't necessarily have to be a narcissist, or vice versa. You know, someone that's not a narcissist might do these things. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're a narcissist. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're a false prophet. I think this is just a great article for just spotting the ways that people try to manipulate each other. You may be sitting at home thinking, oh, I've done that. Oh no. Well, be aware of it. You know, there's certain things on this list that maybe I've done because, you know, basically this is selfish behavior. Who of us has not had some selfish behavior at some point? And I don't want you to get carried away and think, oh, wow, I've done that. Oh, I must be a narcissist. Or I've done that. Oh, my goodness, I must be a false prophet. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I just want you to be aware of the different ways that people try to manipulate, so that if someone's trying to manipulate you, or, you know, maybe this is a person that you're really, you know, accepting their word as the truth, go back to your scripture. Go back to this article. I'll put it in the notes on the YouTube video for you to read in depth, because I'll probably just kind of go over it and gloss over it a little bit. But just be aware of this, that, you know, these are crafty little things that, you know, the devil might be trying to use against you. You know, it might be coming through other people, and we want to try to avoid these people, or at least call them out on it. You know, if it's someone close to you that maybe isn't necessarily a narcissist, but you're like, oh, I see what you're trying to do there, you know, that you'll know. So, you know, a narcissist never thinks that they're wrong. They always think that they're right. They don't even seem to have the ability to realize that they're wrong. Okay, so the first one on the list is triangulation. And this is basically someone is already convinced that they're right, and so they bring a third party into it who they've already convinced to support them. And so this is a pretty classic way, you know, and another way of saying it would be ganging up. You know, they want to confront you about something, and instead of them just coming to you one-on-one, they convince somebody else that they're right, and then the two of them approach you. Number two, devaluing. So basically, this is like everything that somebody once liked about you. All of a sudden, they hate those things about you, and they try to manipulate you into believing that you need to be even more than you already are in order to please them. Number three, aggression. So this could be overt aggression, this could be verbal aggression, some type of aggression where, you know, that person can't really control their behavior or emotions. Now, particularly with a narcissist, you don't want to get into an unsafe situation with a narcissist. You want to make sure that you protect yourself from being a victim of the abusive tendencies of the narcissist, and know that you deserve better. Now, although physical aggression might be easy to see, psychological aggression is harder to identify. And ways that they might be psychologically aggressive would be to intimidate you or make you feel afraid, threatening you, using denigrating language, withholding emotional, physical, or financial support, controlling your access to friends and family, controlling your behavior, pressuring you to do things you don't want to do. And if you're fearful for your safety, I would suggest getting to a safe location and calling the hotline.org at 1-800-799-7233, or visit the hotline.org for resources to help you get out of those kinds of situations. Fourth tactic of manipulation, shaming. So basically belittling you, making you feel less valuable, trying to manipulate you. They want to make you feel ashamed for either your appearance, a lack of education, social class, whatever the case may be. Or, you know, I've had this one come up before where maybe you're apologizing for something, you've already said you're sorry, and then someone proceeds to just like crazy pile on, like, oh, I've got you weak, so now I'm gonna pile on and make you feel even worse. Like, oh, you're feeling bad, oh, you're about to feel worse. Well, I mean, if it's disproportionate to the situation, you know, maybe you're sorry for what you did, but somebody tries to make it a bigger deal than it really was and tries to shame you, that's a manipulative tactic. Another manipulative tactic is playing the victim. You know, a narcissist will tend to say something like, I can't win with you. Or maybe they're pleading with you to console them and help them justify their inflated ego, or, you know, trying to make you feel like you deflated their ego. Don't back down just because someone tries to act like, oh, wow, you know, you've really gone overboard with me, whenever you're just trying to call them out. Inappropriate behavior. You know, maybe they are likely to embarrass you in public and make you apologize to others for their behavior. By doing so, you might be supporting their ego, by smoothing things over for them. You know, we're not accountable for somebody else's sins, and nobody should ever make you feel like you're accountable for their sins. People are accountable for their own inappropriate behavior. I mean, it's hard enough for us to just feel responsible and repentant for our own sins. That's hard enough, you know. I mean, that's task enough. But feeling guilty and ashamed for somebody else's behavior, we're not called to do that. Number 7, monopolizing the conversation. Ugh, I've been guilty of this one before. I really need to work on this. But a narcissist basically believes that everything should be about them. A telltale sign might be that you begin to realize they're not listening to a word you're saying, and they're really just waiting for their turn to talk. They didn't hear a word you said. They don't care what you have to say. All they care about is what they're going to say next. That's something I need to work on. I don't tend to not listen to people, but I tend to have a mind that wonders. I'm like always thinking way too much, and that's not good. We need to listen to one another. I mean, without listening, I mean, that's the foundation of communication, really. Number 8, projecting. So basically, whatever you accuse them of doing, they reflect and they blame it back on you. So they basically project their bad behavior onto others because, of course, they themselves are flawless. Number 9, brainwashing. So do you find yourself doing things you don't want to do for this person? You know, this is another way of manipulating you. You know, they use some sort of ploy to get you to obey their command in spite of your not wanting to. So that's brainwashing. Gaslighting. Number 10, gaslighting. This is basically trying to convince you that you're crazy. They make you question your own sanity. So, you know, maybe you say that you dislike what they said in front of your friends, and then they'll deny it, offer proof that you're wrong, assert that it never happened. No matter what proof you might even have to support your claim, they might insist that you were just imagining things. I mean, that's rich. I just watched the movie Gaslight. It's an old movie, and I mean, it takes that to the nth degree. So if you're interested in that, that's a movie I'd recommend watching. Number 11, verbal aggression. So, you know, maybe they're yelling and insulting and trying to manipulate you with this tactic. Stay tuned for the next episode, where I will be discussing how to stay on guard against false prophets.